Hi there, in latest video I explain how the Aptos store data on chain. It's really important to understand how Aptos store data, so if you do not understand it yet, check my latest video. And in this video I explained everything what you need to know about storing data on Aptos, because basically in long story short, Aptos store data in accounts related to the main account of the deployer. So this is how it works. So let's create in this video counter, which will be able to, which will allow user to count their own counter. Basically, every user interacting with our Move module will have them the own instance of this counter. So everyone had their own counter. So let's init new Move module for this. As you may see, I created new Move module. Then I open it in the VS Code Studio to make my life easier. As you may see, there's problem with my Move Analyzer because there is created there's no wallet yet, and there's no Move module yet created. Just there's only Move.toml, and we do not have any any wallet specific, so we make just simply copy this through other video which I got before in here. So let's take it, let's put it in here. Okay, it is much simpler. And for now, let me just simply find what I need to do, because I forget on my own. That's why I'm recording these videos, to really basically to help myself memorize all of this. So it's as simple. Okay, so create the counter. So let's call it just counter. Just for let's call this file counter dot move. Okay, this is it. And let's create in here our first module, which will be our module. As you may see, there's module, there is wallet called publisher in here. Let's just keep it out, it's okay. But we want to change the name of this module to, for example, my counter or something, or maybe simple counter. Just keep it simple. Okay. For this example and for this project, we'll make test step by step, and we'll do everything step by step, because this is more advanced project than we created before. So let's create new Move file, which will be separate file for testing. So let's call it just counter bottom line test dot move. Of course, the naming is on your side. You may call it whatever you want, and basically it do not matter at all. But I want to keep it simple. So in this file, let's create the test scenarios, or maybe test module for now. So let's call it just test on. Let's put it in here, test only, to let no blockchain to let no compiler that it should not be able, or should not be after compiling it to blockchain. And let's create in here move module, same as this one, and let's just call it in the other way to do not collidate names. Just put it in here, test, for example. So this is separate module, as easy as that. Okay, so what we need to do now? Basically, we want to create first function, or maybe not first function. We want to create some storage. So how we may create storage using Move? Basically, it's very simple. If you are understanding Rust, you may know this already, that you may create something called struct. Basically, what is struct? Struct is some object that is only storing values. This is not the object like class or something. This is only storage object. It may only have it only defined how something store values. For example, when we create this struct counter or counter holder or count holder, sorry, when we create the count holder, we need to specify that the count holder has a key. You may wonder why the count holder has a key. There it is. This is the Move book, in which you may find very important information about Move and very basic information how you may create something on Move. Not maybe not basic information how you may create something on Move, but something like a guide which lets you know what is for what. So we may try to find in here key basically. And as you may see, the key ability allow the type to serve as a key for global storage operations. What does it mean? Basically, in simple way, it allow us to use move to, borrow global, or move forward, but in the more advanced way, it allow us to store actually data on the chain, because it means that this storage will have them own key that allow us to interact with the storage. Whoa, this is very hard to explain, but in simple way, this key, this word key, let node blockchain that this will be available under some public key. This is simplest way in which I may explain to you how does it work. Of course, this key will not be able we will not be able to get this value using just key of the storage, because as I said in latest video, this key will be related to our wallet. So to get the storage, we need to be calling our wallet, which deployed this program. So yeah, this is a little bit problematic to explain, but I believe you understand. If you watch other videos, then you probably understand everything in here. So let's go further. So let's create in here counter, or maybe count, and let's give this count the type U64. So this is for real fully functional storage that already may exist on chain, but we do not give the storage any values. We do not interact with the storage. This is just storage on chain. We just reserve some storage to let know, hey, we'll in the future maybe or maybe not, because in this move module there's nothing more. We just want to have some storage with some value that we will be able to get using the route to this storage. But we want to create in here something more advanced, like the function which will allow us to basically create the storage, because I'm moron and I forgot that the storage already do not exist on blockchain. We just need to initialize the storage because it will be. This is simple to. This is simple to forget that we need to initialize something when I was working on Solana and there was no such stuff like this. We just declare this so that we want to get this account and it was working right ahead. So forget it. Let's go ahead and let's create the bump function, which will actually initialize this value, this account, if it's not initialized already, and let's then also create the other case that will bump the account if it exists. So let's create in here public function. Of course, this public function should be also entry to let know blockchain that people may interact with this function. Function. Oh, my bad. In here, function, and call it bump. This function will take the some account as a signer. Of course, this account is provided through blockchain. Blockchain will provide it on self. We do not have to provide it in any way because Move provided it automatically. And we need to say in here that we want to interact with our storage. So let's write it in here. That we acquire counter holder because we want to interact with it. So we want to acquire counter holder. Okay. So what we need to do now, we want to get the address of the signer to then create the account for this signer. So let's create in here new variable, which will be called address in the simple way. And let's use in here function from signer function from signer dot address of, then pass in here borrowed account. Okay, why this account should be borrowed? Because we do not want to pass we do not want to pass this, we want to pass actual fully functional signer to then interact with it. That's why we want to borrow, not copy, and any other way. Okay, so let's say that we want to use also std signer because we are using signer in here, so we need to import it. Std signer. Okay, and let's create now initialize initialize state. So basically, let's now check if the account already exists. So let's say if account do not if this account do not exists, then we need to pass in here which account we want to check. So we want to check the account which type is our struct, and this account is related with address of our signer. Okay, and when we get this account and it account do not exist, then we want to create this account. So we need to use function called move bottom line to, because we will move some value to this account. So let's move here some account. So we need to specify that person who moved this account in simpler way, it means who will pay for this account is our account that interact with that uses function bump, and we want to create new instance of our counter holder which will contain some count. Okay, so by default we want the count to be 0. Okay, this is it for now, and we want to also create in here else statement that will check did this account already was created and then mutable. But maybe let's create some test for now to check did it actually work. I will copy from my second screen the function to create the signer. You may write it down. This is a function that allow us to get the signer from the stack, and it uses this leaps. It takes the latest signer from the stack, and basically this is what this function do. It is pretty very useful in many cases. So let's create in here test statement, and in this test statement we want to create a public entry function that will be called test. Just for now, let's call it test if it init, and let's check did this test init the function in here. So let's get the first account from stack. So let's create here variable. Let account get account, and then let get the address of this account. So I will copy that to make my life easier. Of course, we need to remember about all of this stuff which I forget. I mean these characters. Okay. Then we want to use Aptos framework to initialize our account for the Aptos, of course. So there it is, and we need to also import our module with counter. So let's say that we want to use publisher, because we want to use from publisher our counter. Okay, this is the counter from the publisher, and this is it. So let's say in here that we want to use the our counter and then run function bump. That to which we pass. Of course, in test we need to specify all of this, but in the interaction with blockchain we do not have to pass any accounts at all. So let's assert for now. Okay, let's assert did counter okay, I forget. we do not create the get statement. So we need to create some getter to get our actual state. That's why I forget. That's why I was trying to write right right, and then I remember that we need to create some tests. Forget it. We'll create the test in few seconds. So let's create for now getter that will allow us to get, of course, the value. So let's create it. Let's make it like public function. Function get count, to which we will pass address, to which we will pass the address, and that function will be returning U64, and it also interact with our storage. So that's why we need to pass it. Okay, so let's assert in here because we cannot get the account which do not exist. So we need to assert that the account already exists. Okay, so the account exists. Of course, basically we may copy this statement in here. If this account exists, if it's not, then we may for example say 0, because it do not exist. So basically there is some, we may pass in here some error statement for now past the 0, because we do not want to pass anything to make us life easier. For now, we basically will pass this in the future. Okay, so let's borrow for now the let's borrow the actual state of this counter. So we need to use function called borrow, bottom line global, borrow global, and then also pass this account with we want to interact and get the count from this account. Okay, we want to return it, so we do not pass this character in here. So yeah. So this is it. And what we want to do now, basically, we want to test it out. So let's copy the name of it, and let's try to get in here value of our counter. So let's pass in here address, which we want to for which we want to check the existence of the counter, and let's pass in here 0, because after initializing the counter should start with 0 as we said. We may pass in here that when it is not as it should be, we may then return 0. So let's try to test it out. New terminal. Oh, damn it. I'm in my Windows, so I need to go to subsystem. That's why my Move extension do not work. And let's say that we want to test it out. So Aptos, Move, test. Okay, I remember everything as I should. So there's something not all right. Invalid account list. So there it is. Liter coffee was never for move. Okay, cause basically the Aptos is Aptos, not Aptos, sorry. Basically, Move is very, mm, very advanced language, and it finds many errors for us and let us know that something do not work. And did I make something not all right? Wait a second. Invalid list. So, okay, cause you know the program find out that I want to interact with the actual storage, which may not exist yet. Because I was trying to pass in here if statement because we want to bump it if it exists. But the compiler find out that we do not have anything like that. This counter do not exist because we want to move it and initialize in here. So yeah, basically it's very smart. So maybe let's try it for now. Of course, there's error cause the not used statement need to be passed with bottom line. And as you may see, test passed with success. So let's check it out. It's working as it should. For now, it should not work right now. And it's not working. So this is okay. We'd like it to do not work. And let's try it, run it again, and it's working as it should. Okay, so basically when we created that, we may now create the other thing, because we want now create the bump also, bump statement. For now it was initializer, just initializer, and we want now to create actual bump. So you may wonder how. Simple, just pass in here else statement, just passing here else statement. We want to borrow the old state of the this account. So let's create let's create another variable, old state, or maybe old count, and then let's borrow in here mutable. So there's borrow global, but we want to borrow global but mutable because we want to interact with this value, and pass in here our account with we want to interact. Okay. So when we created that, we may now want to count up this counter. So how? Simple. Just let's get the our old count, and then put in here count, which is in this account, and let's bump it out. So we want to bump it out. Basically, we may say it it equals the our count plus one. Okay, but wait a second. It probably may do not work because we may probably it may be error with borrowing with borrowing this that may be borrowed, so we may not be able to count it up. But let's check it out. If this error will came, then we will try to fix it together, of course. So let's check it out. We have in here our account, but this account was used already. This account was used already, so we need to check, we need to get this account another time. So this function will get the account another one. So as you may see, all assert passed with success. It means that we created fully functional counter. Yeah, that's right. As you may see, when we pass in here 2, it do not works. What does it mean? It means that we actually counted up our counter and it worked as it should. When we try to pass in here other signer or maybe other address, for example, I don't have any other address in here to pass it down. I'm not sure that it will be working when I try to pass the count like this, but we may try it. I was never trying. I do not try this before. Wait a second. Want to, or maybe pass the coffee. Let's pass in here coffee. It should be X in here. Damn it. I'm so bad to writing. Just copy it and it will be much easier. As you may see, we cannot do that because office not the address type. So yeah, I should have creating here using test library like the mock accounts or mock addresses, and then it probably will work. So, but we do not have enough time for that. So thank you for watching. See you in the next video, and leave a like, leave a comment, follow me on Twitter. See you.